Asafas, Safas, Safas. Ui.
I don't think he gets past Ciryl Gane. I think that weight is real. Could he 100%, in particular in that division. But nobody has really finished Ciryl Gane, and his movements is very problematic. Pereira also does get hit tomorrow. Now, can you take a heavyweight's punch? Now you're talking about Francis Ngannou power? A real big heavyweight?
You are right, Henry. Ciryl Gane is no slouch. When he was fighting Tom Aspinall, we saw how that fight was starting to look. But listen, I think this is a fantastic fight. I'm not counting anyone out here. I'm not counting Alex Pereira out here because Alex Pereira does have the power to really change things. We felt this way when Alex Pereira said he was wanting to go to light heavyweight. Now he dominated that weight class.
Yeah, that's the thing. He kicks so well too. He's not just a guy that's going to be some lumbering heavyweight. I think there's a lot of heavyweights on the roster that Pereira would hands down easily just go out there and KO to death. No problem. This one is a challenge. And I think that's what entices him, whether it was going to be Jones or whether it's going to be Ciryl Gane. You're going for that third belt. If he gets it, you are a legit. And where do we go from here? If he wins that friggin' belt at that White House event, does he go down as possibly nobody has ever done that in UFC history.
Alex Pereira has not wasted any time getting serious about his next move, and that is exactly why this fight has picked up so much attention so quickly. The moment talk of a showdown with Ciryl Gane started to feel real, the reaction was immediate, because this is not just another fight on the schedule. This is Pereira stepping into the heavyweight division and testing himself against a man who has lived there, fought there, and built his name there. That changes everything. The weight jump alone is enough to make people stop and look twice. But when the opponent is somebody like Gane, the discussion becomes even bigger. Pereira is no stranger to major fights, pressure, or dangerous opponents. Yet this challenge brings a completely different kind of threat. Heavyweight is a division where one clean shot can erase all planning, all momentum, and all hype in a second. But it is also a division where natural size can become a serious factor once the cage door closes. That is why fans are locked in right now. Pereira has already started camp, and that tells you how seriously he is treating this opportunity. Nobody is pretending this will be easy, and that is part of what makes it so compelling. He is not moving up to face a slow target or a one-dimensional opponent. He is moving up to face a skilled heavyweight who understands distance, movement, and timing, and who has already proven he can survive at the top level. The more people think about this fight, the more split they become, because there are real arguments on both sides. Pereira brings that frightening power, the kind that can make even elite fighters hesitate, while Gane brings the kind of size and mobility that can make a dangerous striker struggle to find clean openings. Michael Bisping looked at the matchup from the physical side first, and his take centered on something basic but important. Weight classes are there for a reason. They are not random lines on a chart. They exist because the body type, strength, and natural frame of one division can be very different from another. And once a fighter starts climbing those divisions, the differences stop being theoretical and start becoming very real. Pereira used to compete as a middleweight after cutting weight to make that division, and now he is preparing to stand across from heavyweights. That is not a small adjustment. That is a major shift in what he will be dealing with when the fight begins. Bisping still gave Pereira credit where it matters most. He made it clear that Pereira carries real stopping power, and that kind of power can travel. Some fighters dominate because of pace, volume, or pressure, but Pereira has the type of offense that can end a fight with one clean connection, and Bisping clearly believes that power remains dangerous even when the division changes. Still, his warning was obvious. Ciryl Gane is not just a big body standing in front of him. He is a naturally large heavyweight who also moves with surprising speed speed, and that is what makes the matchup so tricky. There are plenty of big men in combat sports, but not all of them can pair that frame with sharp movement and quick reactions. Gane can, and that makes him a much more complicated puzzle than people might first assume. What makes Bisping's view so interesting is that it does not dismiss Pereira at all, but it also refuses to ignore the reality of the move. People love the idea of a superstar jumping up and smashing through another division, but when the opponent is a true heavyweight with proven skill, the fantasy gets tested quickly. Pereira can absolutely hurt people up there, yet the question is whether he can consistently get the kind of opening he needs against a fighter who is bigger, naturally stronger, and used to dealing with heavyweight level exchanges. That is the tension hanging over this entire matchup, and it starts with the physical reality that Bisping kept coming back to. Paul Felder looked at the same fight and focused on why it has become so exciting for fans, analysts, and fighters watching from the outside. He sees the danger Pereira brings, and he also sees why Ciryl Gane is not the kind of opponent you casually pick when you are trying to prove something in a new division. Pereira may be capable of knocking out a lot of heavyweights, and that alone says plenty about how feared his striking still is, but Gane stands out as one of the hardest tests available. He is not simply there to be hit. He is not the type to brawl recklessly or hand over chances because the moment gets intense. He is a serious technical challenge, and that is what gives the matchup its edge. Felder's point carries weight because he is not just looking at names, he is looking at style. Pereira's movements, his ability to set traps, the danger of his kicks, and the sharpness of his overall striking package all make him a very unusual problem for somebody in the heavyweight division. He is not stepping into this fight with a basic game or a predictable attack. He has the kind of tools that force opponents to think before they react, and against somebody like Gane, that matters a lot. A fighter can be bigger and still find himself uncomfortable if the man in front of him controls the rhythm, attacks the legs, and creates hesitation with every small feint and shift. That is the part of the matchup Felder seems to enjoy most. This is not a case where one fighter has all the answers. Pereira can create major trouble for Gane because of the angles he brings and the danger he carries in every exchange. And Gane can create his own set of problems because he is not likely to stand still and let those weapons line up cleanly. The result is a fight that feels important beyond the immediate stakes. It is not just about who wins on the night, it is about what that win would mean. Felder made that point clear when he talked about Pereira's legacy. If Pereira beats Ciryl Gane and then goes on to win another title, the scale of that accomplishment would be massive. At that point, people would not be talking about him in ordinary terms. They would be looking at a career that kept breaking through new walls and doing things that are supposed to be much harder than he has made them look. Plenty of fighters talk about chasing greatness, but only a few manage to do something that changes how their whole career is viewed. Beating Gane at heavyweight would push Pereira much closer to that kind of territory. What makes that possibility so fascinating is that it feels bold without feeling impossible. Sometimes a legacy argument sounds exaggerated because the path ahead looks unrealistic from the start. This one does not. It looks difficult, very difficult, but still believable enough to keep people leaning in. That is where the excitement comes from. Pereira is not walking into a gimmick fight or a novelty matchup. He is stepping into a real test with very real consequences, and if he passes it, the conversation around him will look completely different the next day. MMA Guru picked up on another part of the story, and that is the strange way Ciryl Gane always seems to remain close to the biggest opportunities in the division. People joke about it because it feels like he keeps finding his way back into major spots, and now he is right there again in another huge fight. That running joke exists for a reason, but it can also distract from something important. Gane does not stay around these opportunities by accident. He stays there because his style is difficult, his skills are real, and he creates problems that many heavyweights do not know how to solve cleanly. Guru also pointed to something that makes this fight especially interesting for Pereira. If this matchup plays out mostly on the feet, and a lot of people expect that it will, then the fight naturally moves toward the area where Pereira does his best work. That is why many fans immediately saw danger for Gane when the matchup started gaining traction. And a striking fight with Alex Pereira is not a casual assignment. Even men who know what is coming still struggle once they are in there trying to avoid it. Pereira's timing, accuracy, and power changed the entire feel of a stand-up battle. Still, Guru made it very clear that treating Gane like an easy target in a striking match would be a mistake. That reading misses what has made him effective at heavyweight in the first place. Gane moves better than most fighters his size, and more importantly, he is comfortable giving ground without losing control. A lot of fighters panic when they are forced backward, their feet get sloppy, their eyes stop reading the opponent correctly, and they begin reacting instead of thinking. Gane usually does not fall into that trap. He can operate while retreating, which allows him to avoid ugly exchanges and pull opponents into the kind of fight he prefers. That style matters a lot here. Gane does not love standing chest to chest and trading wildly with his opponent. He would rather stay smart, stay measured, and make the other man work harder to reach him. That can be frustrating for someone who wants clean opportunities to land heavy shots. It can also stretch the fight into a more technical kind of contest, where every small movement starts to matter. Against many heavyweights, that approach gives Gane a clear edge because he is simply smoother and more disciplined than the men trying to pressure him. Against Pereira, it creates a fascinating clash because Pereira does not need endless exchanges to change the fight. He only needs the right opening. Guru's read on the matchup works because it captures both truths at once. Yes, this fight lines up in a way that gives Pereira real chances to shine, especially if it stays mostly a striking battle. At the same time, that does not erase Gane's strengths. It actually puts them under a brighter light. This is not just a striker versus striker fight. It is a fight between one man who can end things suddenly and another who may be able to deny him those clean moments long enough to turn the fight into something more difficult and drawn out. That contrast gives the matchup real tension from start to finish. That is exactly why this fight feels so hard to predict, even for people who usually have a quick answer when a major matchup gets announced. Pereira has the type of power that can break a fight open without warning, and if he sees the opening, sets the shot up, and lands clean, the whole contest could be over in a flash. That possibility will hang over every second of the fight, because nobody watching can ignore what Pereira does when he gets the moment he wants. His ability to close the show is the reason people keep believing in him, no matter what division he enters. At the same time, Ciryl Gane has the kind of footwork and distance control that can turn a dangerous fight into a long night for the other man. If he stays disciplined, avoids getting trapped in front of Pereira, and forces the fight to unfold at his pace, then this could become a much more technical battle than some fans expect. Gane has the tools to make opponents chase, reset, and hesitate, and when that starts happening, the fight can slip away round by round. He does not need chaos to win. In a matchup like this, calm decisions and clean movement could be just as valuable as raw power. That is what makes the whole thing so compelling. One fighter can erase the scorecards with a single shot, and the other can make the fight feel slower, longer, and more uncomfortable with every passing minute. Pereira's path feels explosive. Gane's path feels disciplined. Pereira's danger is obvious the second he steps into range. Gane's value shows up in the spaces between those moments, when he is making his opponent miss, resetting the exchange, and keeping the fight where he wants it. Both roads are real, and that is why people cannot agree on what happens next. The deeper you get into this matchup, the more it feels like a fight that could swing hard in either direction depending on who controls the early minutes. If Pereira starts cutting off the cage and forcing exchanges, the pressure on Gane rises fast. If Gane is able to stay loose, stay mobile, and make Pereira reach for shots that are not fully there, the shape of the contest changes. Suddenly the explosive threat is still present, but it is attached to a much harder task. That is when patience, reading, and discipline start to become just as important as power. No matter which side people lean toward, one thing is clear. This is not a simple fight to call, and that is exactly why so many fans are interested in it already. Alex Pereira is chasing something huge by stepping into this challenge. And Ciryl Gane has every reason to believe he can shut that story down before it gets any bigger. Two very different strengths, one massive stage, and a result that could change the direction of both men in a big way. Subscribe for more fight breakdowns like this, and drop your winner in the comments below, because this one has all the ingredients to become a night people will be talking about for a long time.